हाय एवरीवन, वेलकम टू सक्सेस ड्रीम पाथ। आज की क्लास में हम लोग 2500 क्वेश्चन आंसर सीरीज का पार्ट 2 करने जा रहे हैं। तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं चैप्टर 2 मेमोरी एंड स्टोरेज। 301 क्वेश्चन नंबर से। व्हाट इज कंप्यूटर मेमोरी स्टोरेज? विच मेमोरी इज यूज फॉर टेम्पोरेरी स्टोरेज? रैम। Which memory is permanent in nature? ROM. Which memory is volatile? RAM. Which memory is non-volatile? ROM. Which memory is directly accessed by CPU? RAM. Which memory stores booting instructions? ROM. Which memory is fastest? Register. Which memory lies between CPU and ROM? Cache. Which memory improves processing speed? Cache. Which memory is also called main memory? RAM. Which memory is also called primary memory? RAM. Which memory stores data permanently for long time? Secondary memory. Which memory is also called auxiliary memory? Secondary memory. Which storage device uses magnetic technology? Hard disk. Which storage device uses flash memory? Pen drive. Which storage device has no moving parts? SSD. What is the full form of SSD? Solid state drive. What is the full form of HDD? HDD hard disk drive. Which storage device is portable? Pen drive. Which memory stores frequently uses data? Cache. Which memory is inside CPU? Registered. Which unit stores instruction currently being executed? RAM. Which memory is erased when power is off? RAM. Which memory retains data without power? ROM. What is the smallest unit of memory? Bit. How many bits make one byte? 8. Which unit is equal to 1024 bytes? Kilobyte. Which unit is equal to 1024 KB? Megabyte. Which unit is equal to 1024 MB? Gigabyte. Which unit is equal to 1024 GB? Terabyte. Which memory is costlier per bit? Register. Which memory has lowest speed? Secondary memory. Which storage device is optical? CD and DVD. Which optical disc stores more data? DVD. What is the full form of CD? Compact disc. Which storage device is used for backup external hard disks? Which memory supports read and write operation? RAM. Which memory supports only read operation? ROM. Which memory is used in a smartphone? Flash memory. Which storage device is smallest in size? Pen drive. Which memory is faster than RAM? Cache. Which memory is also called high speed memory? Cache. Which memory stores BIOS? ROM. Which storage device is used in laptop mostly? SSD. Which memory increases computer performance? Cache. Which memory has limited capacity but highest speed? Register. Which memory is used to store OS temporarily? RAM. Which storage device is removable? Pen drive. Which memory is essential for system operation? RAM. Which memory is directly connected to CPU? Register. Which memory stores frequently accessed instruction? Cache. Which memory reduces access time of data? Cache. Which memory is slower than RAM? Secondary memory. Which memory is also called external memory? Secondary memory. Which storage device uses platter? Hard disk. Which storage device uses semiconductor memory? SSD. Which storage device is shock resistance? SSD. Which memory is cheapest per bit? Secondary memory. Which memory is costliest per bit? Register. Which memory is used to store application programs permanently? Secondary memory. Which storage device uses laser technology? Optical disk. Which optical disk can be written only on CDR? Which optical disk can be rewritten CDRW? Which storage device is used in digital cameras? Memory card. Which memory card is commonly used in smartphones? Micro SD. Which storage device is used in ATMs? Hard disk. Which memory supports random access? RAM. Which memory doesn't support random access? Sequential memory. Which storage device is sequential access? Magnetic tape. Which storage device is used for archival purpose? Magnetic tape. Which memory is used for system cache? SRAM. What is the full form of SRAM? Static random access memory. Which memory is faster, SRAM or DRAM? SRAM is faster. What is the full form of DRAM? Dynamic random access memory. Which memory needs refreshing? DRAM. Which memory does not need refreshing? SRAM. Which storage device is used in cloud storage physically? Data center hard disk. Which unit measures memory access time? Nanosecond. Which unit measures secondary storage speed? Millisecond. Which memory is used in graphic cards? VRAM. What is the full form of VRAM? Video random access memory. Which memory stores display data? VRAM. Which storage device uses USB interface? Pen drive. Which memory type is EEPROM? Non-volatile. What is the full form of EEPROM? Electrically erasable programmable ROM. Which memory can be erased electrically? EEPROM. Which storage device is used for OS installation? Hard disk SSD. Which memory is used in BIOS chip? ROM. Which memory is programmable on PROM? What is the full form of PROM? Programmable read-only memory. Which memory can be erased by UV light? EPROM. What is the full form of EPROM? Erasable programmable read-only memory. Which storage device is used for video recording? Memory card. Which memory is faster, ROM or RAM? RAM is faster. Which memory stores firmware? ROM. Which storage device is used for data transfer between computers? Pen drive. Which memory hierarchy level is largest in size? Secondary storage. Which memory hierarchy level is smallest in size? Register. Which memory hierarchy level is fastest? Register. Which memory stores operating system files permanently? Secondary storage. Which memory is used to load OS at a startup? RAM. Which storage device is faster, HDD or SSD? SSD. Which storage device is cheaper per GB? HDD. Which memory is read only in nature? ROM. Which memory can be both read and write? RAM. Which memory is erased on power failure? RAM. Which memory keeps data safe during power failure? ROM. Which memory supports cache mechanism? SRAM. Which memory is used as CPU cache? SRAM. Which storage device uses NAND flash SSD? Which memory card is used in DSLR cameras? SD card. Which storage device is used in tablets? Flash storage. Which memory is organized in memory cells? RAM. Which memory cells stores 1 bit of data? Flip flop. Which memory is slower but cheaper? Secondary memory. Which memory is faster but costlier? Primary memory. Which storage device uses SATA interface? Hard disk. Which interface is commonly used for SSDs today? NVMe. Which unit measures storage capacity? Bytes. Which memory hierarchy level is nearest to CPU? Register. Which memory hierarchy level is farthest from CPU? Secondary storage. Which memory requires constant power to retain data? RAM. Which storage device is used for disaster recovery? Magnetic tape. Which memory is organized in rows and column? RAM. Which storage technology is used in USB drives? Flash memory. Which memory is used for fast buffering? Cache. Which memory temporarily holds instruction and data? RAM. Which storage device is suitable for large data center? Hard disk. Which memory technology is used in BIOS chip? EEPROM. Which memory can be updated without removing chip? EEPROM. Which memory supports firmware updates? Flash memory. Which storage device is best for portability? Pen drive. Which memory type is used in IoT devices? Flash memory. Which memory unit is larger, MB or GB? GB. Which memory unit is the smallest, KB or MB? KB. Which storage device is suitable for multimedia files? Hard disk. Which memory is optimized for graphics processing? VRAM. Which memory stores frame buffer? VRAM. Which storage device has the longest lifespan? Magnetic tape. Which memory is used to speed up disk access? Cache. Which memory stores directory information? Secondary storage. Which storage device is used in servers? Hard disk or SSD? Which memory is used to hold kernel temporarily? RAM. Which memory type is battery backed? CMOS. Which memory stores system configuration setting? CMOS. Which memory is used to store data and time? CMOS. Which memory is cleared when CMOS battery is removed? CMOS. Which memory is best for frequent read write operations? SSD. Which memory ensure quick system boot? SSD. Which memory is used to store cache line? SRAM. Which memory technology is used in L1 cache? SRAM. Which cache level is fastest? L1 cache. Which cache level is largest in size? L3 cache. Which memory improves CPU through output? Cache. Which storage device is best for OS installation? SSD. Which memory type is used in pen drive? Flash memory. Which storage device uses non-cells SSD? Which memory is rewritten many times? Flash memory. Which memory is used in USB flash drives? Flash memory. Which memory type is faster? DRAM or SRAM? SRAM. Which memory type is cheaper? DRAM or SRAM? DRAM. Which memory is used as a main temporary in computers? DRAM. Which memory needs periodic refreshing? DRAM. Which memory store BIOS configuration? CMOS. Which memory is battery powered? CMOS. Which memory is clear when BIOS is reset? CMOS. Which storage device is suitable for long term backup? Magnetic tape. Which storage technology is used in Blu-ray discs? Optical storage. Which optical disc has highest capacity? Blu-ray disc. Which memory is used to store system locks temporarily? RAM. Which storage device uses M.2 interface? SSD. Which memory type is used in NVMe SSDs? NAND flash. Which storage device offers highest IOPS? SSD. Which memory unit is equal to 1024 TB petabyte? Which memory unit comes after petabyte? Exabyte. Which storage device is commonly used in data warehouses, hard disk? Which memory is used for fast data buffering, cache? Which memory stores frequently used OS components, RAM? Which storage device is best for gaming performance, SSD? Which memory hierarchy level balance speed and cost, cache? Which memory is optimized for low power devices, flash memory? Which storage device is used for firmware storage, ROM? Which memory supports wear labeling, flash memory? Which storage device is commonly used in servers and RAID, hard disk SSD? Which memory type is used in embedded systems, flash memory? Which storage device has lowest latency, SSD? Which memory is organized in pages, virtual memory? Which storage technique uses disk space as RAM, virtual memory? Which memory management technique reduces RAM requirement, virtual memory? Which storage device stores swap files, hard disks or SSD? Which memory allows multitasking efficiency, virtual memory? Which memory is used to store page tables, RAM? Which storage is faster for random access, SSD? Which memory unit equals 1024 PV, exabyte? Which memory is used to store temporary browser cache, RAM? Which storage device is best for archival data, magnetic tape? Which memory type is most energy efficient, flash memory? Which storage device is commonly used in portable SSDs, NVMe SSD? Which memory improves application loading time, SSD? Which memory stores temporary system files, RAM? Which storage device is used for paging, hard disk or SSD? Which memory technique divides memory into fixed size blocks, paging? Which memory technique divides memory into variable size blocks, segmentation? Which memory uses page replacement algorithms, virtual memory? Which algorithm replaces the least recently used page, LRU? Which algorithm replaces the first loaded page, FIFO? Which algorithm replaces the page that will not be used for longest time, optimal? Which memory fault occurs when page is not in RAM, page fault? Which storage device contains page file, hard disk or SSD? Which memory supports multitasking, virtual memory? Which memory technique reduces fragmentation, paging? Which fragmentation occur in paging, internal fragmentation? Which fragmentation occur in segmentation, external fragmentation? Which memory technique combines paging and segmentation, segmented paging? Which memory address is generated by CPU, logical address? Which memory address is actual location in RAM, physical address? Which unit converts logical address to physical address, MMU? What is the full form of MMU? Memory Management Unit. Which memory structure stores mapping information, page table? Which memory table stores segmentation information, segment table? Which memory technique uses page tablet, paging? Which memory technique uses segment table, segmentation? Which memory mechanism speeds up address translation, TLB? What is the full form of TLB? Translation look aside buffer. Which memory component is a special cache for page tables, TLB? Which memory technique causes page fault, virtual memory? Which memory technique improves memory utilization, virtual memory? Which storage device is used as a swap space, hard disk or SSD? Which memory unit equals 1024 exabytes, zettabyte? Which memory unit comes after zettabyte, yottabyte? Which memory is used to store temporary compiler data, RAM? Which storage device is used for version backup? Hard disk. Which memory is used for buffering input output operations? RAM. Which storage device is best for sequential access? Magnetic tape. Which memory type is used in router flash memory? Which memory stores routing tables? RAM. Which storage device is used for firmware update? Flash memory. Which memory is organized in frames? Physical memory. Which memory structure maps pages to frames? Page table. Which storage device is used in NAS system, hard disk, SSD? Which memory technique uses swapping, virtual memory? Which storage device is best for cold storage, magnetic tape? Which memory is clear on system restart, RAM? Which memory holds running processes, RAM? Which storage device is best for large backups, magnetic tape? Which memory unit equals 1024 zettabyte, yottabyte? Which memory stores temporary database cache, RAM? Which storage device is suitable for cloud servers, SSD or HDD? Which memory technique allows programs larger than RAM? Virtual memory. Which memory is used to store running applications? RAM. Which storage device is used for system image backup? External hard disk. Which memory technique allows demand loading? Virtual memory. Which page replacement algorithm is simplest? FIFO. Which algorithm uses future knowledge optimal? Which algorithm consider recent usage history LRU. Which memory faults increases disk input output page fault? Which memory is organized into pages virtual memory? Which memory is organized into frames physical memory? Which storage device is used to store swap space hard disk or SSD? Which memory technique minimizes external fragmentation, paging? Which memory technique eliminates internal fragmentation, segmentation? Which table stores frame number for pages? Page table. Which table stores base and limit for segment table? Which hardware supports address translation? MMU. Which cache store recent page table entries TLB? Which memory management policy decides page replacement policy? Which condition occur when system spends more time swapping thrashing? Which memory technique causes thrashing if misused? Virtual memory. Which parameter measure page fault frequency? Page fault rate. Which memory structure stores page fault information? Page table. Which storage device is used for cold backup in enterprises? Magnetic tape. Which memory type is used for fast lookup tables? Cache. Which storage device provides high durability? Magnetic tape. Which memory unit equals 1024 yottabytes brontobyte? Which memory is used to store metadata temporarily? RAM. Which storage device is suitable for edge computing nodes? SSD. Which memory improves system responsiveness? Cache. Which storage device is commonly used in laptops today? SSD. Which memory type is used for temporary locks? RAM. Which memory technique supports overcommitment? Virtual temporal memory. Which storage device is best for write owns data? WOM. Which memory type is WOM? Optical memory. Which memory is optimized for read heavy workloads? ROM. Which storage device supports snapshots efficiently? SSD. Which memory is used for process control blocks? RAM. Which storage device is suitable for virtual machines? SSD. Which memory unit equals 1024 brontobytes geobyte? Which memory type stores system state temporarily? RAM. Which storage device is best for fast boot system? SSD. Which memory is used to cache database queries? RAM. Which storage device is suitable for long archives? Magnetic tape. Which memory management technique uses demand paging, virtual memory? Which memory improves multitasking performance? RAM. Which storage device is most suitable for AI workloads? SSD. Which memory stores session data temporarily? RAM. Which storage device is used in a high performance computing clusters? SSD. Which memory is used for temporary rendering data? RAM. Which storage device supports parallel access efficiently? SSD. Which memory technique provides illusion of large memory? Virtual memory. Which memory stores kernel data structure? RAM. Which storage device is best for continuous data writing? SSD. Which memory is used for fast indexing? Cache. Which storage device is used for compliance archiving? Magnetic tape. Which memory is optimized for low latency access? Register. Which memory stores execution context temporarily? RAM. Which storage device is suitable for transactional system? SSD. Which temporary improves cache hit ratio? Cache. Which storage device is used for cold disaster recovery? Magnetic tape. Which memory is used to store runtime variables? RAM. Which storage device supports high write endurance? Enterprises SSD. Which memory is clear during system shutdown? RAM. Which storage device is best for time series data? SSD. Which memory is used to store stacked data? RAM. Which storage device is used for long term digital preservation? Magnetic tape. Which memory supports fastest instruction fetch? Cache. Which storage device is suitable for analytics workload? SSD. Which memory is used to store heap data? RAM. Which storage device is used in enterprise backup libraries? Magnetic tape. Which memory technique completes memory abstraction? Virtual memory. तो चलिए यहाँ पे आपका पार्ट 2 कंप्लीट होता है। यहाँ पे आपका इम्पॉर्टेंट बहुत है, आप याद करिएगा। रिपीट हुआ है उसको भी याद करिएगा, वो तो और इम्पॉर्टेंट है। जब ना समझ में आए फिर से देखिए। चलिए तो पार्ट 3 में मिलते हैं। थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग। लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब।